If we had to pinpoint the origin of civilization, many would say Göbeklitepe. This site marks the shift from nomadic life to settled communities. Some even call it the 0 point of time. But what if there were multiple 0 points? What if several communities sparked settled life across the same landscape? New discoveries reveal Göbeklitepe wasn't alone. Clusters of monumental structures surrounded it. Some were sanctuaries, others dwellings, and some a mystery. Among them, Karahantepe stands out as truly intriguing. Located in southeastern Turkey, near the Tek Mountains. Just 36 kilometers southeast of Göbeklitepe, it adds to the story. Across the site, archaeologists uncovered multiple rooms and open areas. To keep track, they labeled distinct enclosures with codes like AA, AB, and AD. The central AD structure spans about 23 meters in diameter. Its depth sinks several meters below the surrounding terrain. Standing inside, you feel the monumentality of the space. The enclosure walls curve with precision, not by chance. Their geometry whispers of planning and shared architectural knowledge. Like Göbeklitepe, Karahantepe features T-shaped pillars within enclosures. The T form isn't random. The top bar evokes a head, the shaft a torso. Some pillars are adorned with carved belts, garments, and hands, completing the human symbolism. They combined traditional excavation with modern measurement techniques. Using ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry, they uncovered hidden patterns beneath the surface. Carefully planned trenches peeled back layers, preserving the context of each find. Slowly, the contours of a complex settlement began to emerge. What seemed like a single mound revealed a carefully constructed world. Karahantepe, built into soft limestone, showcased the builder's artistry. They carved directly into the living rock, shaping rooms and pillars. Chisel marks and axe scars tell the story of those long gone. These tool traces are like fingerprints, revealing artistic intent and labor techniques. They show step by step how stone was split, smoothed, and set into place. Its proximity hints at cultural ties and shared traditions, yet its differences reveal distinct priorities, symbols, and rituals. Karahantepe first drew scholarly attention in 1990. Researcher Bahattin Çelik noticed T-shaped pillars rising from the soil. The stones looked like weathered teeth pushing through the earth. Their white tops gleamed, worn smooth by thousands of years of wind and rain. Beneath the bleached crust, the stone turns orange-brown, where it is still protected. Those colors tell a story of exposure above and preservation below. They promise hidden architecture, waiting patiently in the ground. In 2019, formal excavations began under the leadership of Istanbul University. A multidisciplinary team assembled with archaeologists, geologists, conservators, and dating specialists. These stylized bodies may represent revered beings or mythic ancestors. They embody leaders, spirits, or personified forces of nature. No definitive answer exists, but the human intention is unmistakable. Here, a crucial difference from Göbeklitepe comes into focus. In Göbeklitepe, animals dominate the imagery, from foxes to snakes and vultures. In Karahantepe, humans step to the center of the stage. Carved faces stare from walls and pillars with unsettling presence. Detached stone heads appear, their eyebrows and eyes picked out with careful lines. Ears and teeth are rendered with striking precision even after millennia. One monumental seated male statue rises to extraordinary height. Its ribs are counted and carved one by one along the chest. Even the smallest anatomical details are captured with clinical precision. This realism reveals a deep fascination with the human form. It suggests that human identity itself became a sacred subject. The effect is both compelling and uncanny. These faces seem to gaze back at us, expecting a response. They draw us toward questions only the creators can answer. Were these figures ancestors called upon in rituals? Were they deities that blessed this space? Were they founders, heroes, or archetypes embodying shared values? Interpretations abound, as the evidence invites diverse readings. Another chamber at Karahantepe has sparked intense debate. Archaeologists have named it the AB enclosure. Within its floor, 11 upright forms rise from the bedrock. 10 resemble human phalluses, while the 11th is a serpent-like monolith. On the west wall, a human figure watches over this array. This arrangement raises questions about fertility and life force. Could it mark rites of passage or generational renewal? Perhaps it stages a drama of creation and transformation. In a harsh world, success meant enduring and reproducing. Failing either goal meant vanishing from history. For communities living on the edge, celebrating fertility was not just indulgence, it was a sacred act of reverence. It was the thread that kept them alive. The AB enclosure invites us to explore Neolithic symbolism on its own terms, reminding us that ancient taboos were not ours, and their priorities were immediate. They carved what mattered most for existence and identity, shaping their world with purpose. At Karahantepe, water flows through the architecture, with channels cut into the bedrock tracing deliberate routes for movement. These channels feed basins and shallow pools, integrated into the very rooms they lived in. Sculpted hydrology suggests ritual cleansing, seasonal rites, or even storage and management. In this climate, water is life, and the builders shaped it with stone, demonstrating their ingenuity. Where there is water control, there is planning and cooperation, a testament to their survival. Where there is planning, there is community. Karahantepe reveals a glimpse into daily life, not just rituals. Archaeologists found structures that feel like homes, not temples. Inside, tools and vessels tell stories of sustained habitation. Stone containers and benches stand as they were left, a testament to time. Some rooms feature tiered seating, perfect for gatherings and meals. Imagine councils and storytelling happening right here. Niches in the walls once held meaningful objects, now silent. Stone bowls rest where hands once paused between tasks. Karahantepe is different from Göbeklitepe, a seasonal ritual site. This place was alive, a hub of community and connection. Karahantepe, a place where worship and daily life intertwined. This challenges everything we thought we knew about the Neolithic revolution. For ages, we believed agriculture came first, then villages, then temples. But Göbeklitepe flipped that idea, showing temples might have come before farms. Now, Karahantepe takes it further, linking monuments with homes. It suggests that rituals and community evolved together, feeding off each other. Beliefs drew people together, and those gatherings needed permanent homes. Stable living fostered cooperation, leading to monumental projects. These monuments built a shared identity, making farming possible. In this cycle, no single invention can claim to be the first cause. The causes weave together, each amplifying the others. Radiocarbon measurements anchor Karahantepe within a familiar window. This site flourished roughly between 9500 and 8700 BCE. That range overlaps with a significant phase at Göbeklitepe. Contemporaneity supports the idea of a regional cultural network. It seems unlikely that such similar symbols arose independently so close together. Exchange of ideas, materials, and people must have been constant. Footpaths connected enclosures, like roads, connect towns today. Imagine groups visiting neighboring sites for seasonal events. Think of stories and techniques migrating with the travelers. In this light, Karahantepe and Göbeklitepe are not rivals. In the heart of Taş Tepeler, siblings of stone rise together, each hill a chapter in a silent story. Researchers have uncovered a tapestry of sacred sites, each with its own voice in the language of stone. These hills map a civilization rich in memory, speaking volumes without a single word. Karahantepe stands out, its carvings whispering tales of power and danger. Leopards and men dance in dramatic scenes, their stories intertwined. One sculpture shows a leopard atop a human, a moment frozen in time. Is it a predator's attack or hunter's triumph? Or perhaps a transformation where man and beast become one? Each image pulses with mystery, inviting us to explore deeper. Is nature conquering humanity, or is humanity conquering nature? The image we see, literal reportage or ritual storytelling. The answer is layered, holding many meanings. Look closely at the figure, covered in dotted patterns. Those dots evoke a leopard's skin draped over human shoulders. Wearing that hide signals dominion, identity, initiation. It binds the hunter to the hunted in a shared pattern. This hints at a rising mythic imagination within the community. Myth allows us to compress survival lessons into enduring stories. In a single scene, we find danger, courage, and transformation intertwined. At Karahantepe, we witness myth-making emerging from the stone itself. This is not to say Göbeklitepe lacked myth. Karahantepe speaks to us more directly, marking a shift in how we see ourselves in nature. It's a profound change for social organization. When people see themselves as distinct agents, they build differently. They create roles, rituals, and laws that shape their identity. Karahantepe's builders were not just passive observers, they were meaning makers. They sculpted their values in limestone with surprising precision. These pillars are not just rough boulders, they are crafted expressions of identity. They are carefully quarried, shaped, and set with joinery finesse. Standing tall, their bases fit perfectly into bedrock sockets. Polished surfaces tell stories of hands smoothing imperfections. Crisp edges reveal the artistry of sharp tools at work. Can you hear the rhythm of hammer and chisel in those lines? Muscle memory flows from elder to apprentice, a timeless bond. Breathe in the scent of crushed limestone and wet dust in the cool morning. Tools uncovered at the site bring the labor into focus. Obsidian blades, flint points, and stone axes litter ancient workspaces. Some tools broke during use, left behind in the dust of time. Use-wear analysis shows the artistry of scraping, cutting, and carving. Imagine a world where stone was the only tool for engineering, where metal was a distant dream. A workforce, united, moved massive pillars without wheels or beasts of burden. They relied on physics and cooperation, using ropes, levers, and sheer numbers to lift the heavy loads. Songs and stories fueled their labor, turning hard work into a seasonal ritual. When their monumental task was done, they did something extraordinary. They buried their own creations with care, packing them with soil, rubble, and remnants of their tools. This was no act of neglect, it was a deliberate closure, a rite of passage for their legacy. It all starts with a deep respect for sacred spaces, where structures were born, served, and eventually laid to rest. This act marks the end of an era or the transfer of sacred power, protecting symbols from enemies and curiosity. These grounds were consecrated for future generations, ensuring memories linger long after. For 11,000 years, these places waited in silence, preserving more than just stone. They held on to questions that draw us back time and again. Why this design? Why this face? Why this channel for water when carving is so hard? Why bury mastery beneath a hill we've built? These questions invite us to reflect on our past and present. What do we consider worthy of our collective effort? If we had only stone and determination, what symbols would we carve? What would we bury to protect what we value most? Standing among these pillars, we realize archaeology is philosophy. It's an inquiry into meaning under the weight of survival. It's about identity before writing and law. Karahantepe sharpens this inquiry, reflecting back on humanity. The faces in stone are mirrors we cannot look away from. Their eyes ask if wisdom begins when we see ourselves as part of a larger story. They wonder if civilization starts when we share and bind our tales together. Some scholars explore this through terror management theory. Aware of our mortality, we create culture to cope with fear and the finite. Rituals, myths, and monuments promise continuity through generations. Karahantepe highlights the human body, linking mortality with meaning. Phallic forms symbolize fertility and futures yet to come. Skeletal ribs remind us of fragility and lives already lived. Between these extremes, a community defines what to honor and remember. Their creativity shines in both small details and grand designs. Stone basins are leveled just right to pool water where it belongs. Channels follow gradients that would make an engineer nod. Seating is carved with consistent riser heights and tread widths, creating harmony in design. Doorways align with inner features, choreographing movement through rooms seamlessly. Niches draw the eye to objects that once mattered, now lost to time. Even the weathered white caps of pillars teach us about time and exposure. They show how rain and wind sculpt stone across 10 millennia, a testament to nature's artistry. They warn us that every uncovered surface begins to change as soon as it meets the air. Conservation becomes part of the story, a modern ritual of respect for ancient makers. Visitors today sometimes find scattered artifacts near the site, remnants of the past. Good intentions can tempt people to move objects for display, but let's honor their history instead. Archaeologists remind us that context is everything. An object without context loses its voice in the grand conversation. Leaving finds undisturbed allows us to read the layers correctly. Reading layers transforms objects into evidence and then into insight. At Karahantepe, we uncover habits of diet and craft. Animal bones tell stories of hunting choices and seasonal availability. Burnt seeds and plant remains reveal gathering and early cultivation. Grinding stones show us the processing of grains and pigments. Pigment traces hint at body painting or wall decoration. Color connects ritual and identity, just as stone binds space and time. When we piece together this evidence, a distinct social picture emerges. This was not just a gathering of strangers, it was a community returning, revising, and reimagining their spaces. Generations came together, each adding new layers to the story. Some rooms transformed into social halls, others became sacred places of ritual. Areas for water, storage, and craft emerged, creating a village of minds and bodies. It held intellectual traditions alongside families and fires. This site belonged to a wider constellation of places across the hills. The Tash Tepeler, the Stone Hills, form a shared horizon of history. Each mound is a syllable in a long sentence of exchange and cooperation. Together, they speak of a federated identity that binds us all. This is a story of a culture that thrived without cities, where excellence emerged without metal, writing, or wheels. It's about a memory that organized hundreds for years, with Karahantepe and Göbeklitepe as its heart. These sites reveal the grammar of belief and community, where animal power and human presence intertwine. Between them, new narratives unfold, possibly even the roots of early law. Shared spaces need rules, rituals need structure, and from this, a vibrant society was born. Water channels need us all, no matter the season. It's about shared responsibility. Stone seating? It's a choice of who speaks and who listens. Monumentality teaches us to resolve conflicts in long-term projects. Before agriculture, governance was key to stabilizing food supplies. Culture can inspire cooperation, leading to innovation. Temples might have sparked villages, not the other way around. Karahantepe isn't just a footnote. It rewrites our origin story. It shows our quest for myth and meaning started earlier than we thought. Aesthetics and ethics emerged hand in hand with architecture. It says that we define ourselves by carving out who we wish to become. As we listen to these stones, we hear the ethics of interpretation. We must avoid forcing modern categories onto ancient intentions. Let ambiguity breathe. It may be the message itself. We must embrace hypotheses that remain open for years. Karahantepe rewards patience with insights earned, not assumed. It's a school for humility about the past, a mirror reflecting our present ambitions. We too build, ritualize, bury, and remember. We too struggle to balance survival and significance. We turn to stories when facts alone feel insufficient. We gather in halls, sit on benches, and listen for wisdom. We carve our identities into the environments we shape. The distance between 11,000 years ago and today narrows. Technology separates us, but purpose unites us. Speed divides us, yet meaning brings us together. Comfort may separate us, but mortality connects us. Karahantepe meets us at the crossroads of fear and hope. It places the human face at the center and asks us to respond. It challenges us to weigh the leopard on the back and choose a reading. It invites us to consider if the watcher in the phallic chamber approves. It asks us to imagine the sound of water in the channels at dawn. Picture hands pressing stone bowls into niches before a rite. Trace the belts and hands carved on T-pillars with your eyes. Feel the weight of a chisel and the patience of a teacher. See a community teaching itself how to be a community. When you consider all of this together, a thought arises. Civilization didn't arrive as a single invention on a single day. It grew where people gathered with intent and memory. It grew where stories legitimized cooperation across kin groups. It grew where architecture embodied values that words could not yet carry. It grew where water was channeled, seats were carved, and faces were honored. It grew where people could point to stones and say, "This is who we are." Karahantepe and Göbeklitepe, two places that don't compete but complete a larger story. They show us that our origins aren't just a single point, but a constellation of beginnings. They remind us that time's 0 points are plural, dynamic, and full of life. Beginnings unfold like dawn across a vast horizon, rich with possibilities. If you've followed this thread, one question remains. What do you see when you stand there? An ancestor cult guarding sacred traditions. A community learning cooperation through ritual. A theater where humanity discovered its role, or a workshop where myth and engineering intertwined. Share your reading, because interpretation is part of our living tradition. Archaeologists will keep digging, dating, mapping, and testing. New chambers will open, new sculptures will emerge, and new data will refine the story. But the spirit of inquiry belongs to all who care to look closely. And Karahantepe rewards those who look closely. It rewards us with evidence, puzzles, and moments of recognition. It rewards us with an ancient gaze meeting a modern gaze across time. It reminds us that we have always been makers of meaning. It gives us the courage to rethink how civilization truly began. It humbles us, reminding us that the story is still unfolding. And because the story is still unfolding, the stones remain our partners in thought. They will continue to stand, weathered but eloquent, while we learn to listen better. They invite us to join a conversation older than writing. They will continue to teach us that our journey is far older than we think. They will continue to show that our first monuments were promises to the future. They will continue to prove that even without words, we knew how to communicate. Karahantepe speaks through faces that refuse to fade from memory. Göbeklitepe speaks through animals that demand our attention. Together, they remind us that humanity learned to stand by remembering our past. Together, they reveal that we became ourselves by choosing what to honor. Together, they show us that settlement was as much a story as a strategy. Together, they tell us that sacred space and social space were born as twins. Together, they illustrate that identity is architecture and architecture is identity. Together, they remind us that the 0 point of time was a chorus, not a solo. And now, as we listen, we are part of that chorus at last.